Hey, what's up, everybody? Cam Hemphill here, your host of the Medical Millionaire Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. My goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. So if you're looking to grow your practice, scale your practice, sell your practice, understand what it takes in order to run your practice like a business, every single one of these episodes that we create, they are designed to help you. They're designed to take you to the next level you up, understand where you are, and really tune into other providers that have done it or are doing it. And so this is an entrepreneurial type of focused uh, podcast. And today, guys, I have an incredible guest on. Sara Ameli. She is from Scottsdale, Arizona. She has an incredible background, a very unique, amazing practice. It's called the House of Confidence. Go follow her on social media. Sculpting by Sara. I'll bring her in here in a minute, but we're going to talk to you guys today about where the industry is heading beyond aesthetics into optimization. We're going to talk about regenerative medicine, functional wellness, longevity, and how the modern aesthetics practice may become the front door to preventative healthcare. Sara, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cam. You've known me for years, and it feels an honor to bring it full circle and chat about how the industry has evolved and why I'm so excited to still be a part of it.
I know it's like I've known you forever. I can't believe it's taken this long to get you on, but you've been very busy. I know that you're working very hard on your practice. You guys have grown it. You guys are doing really well, offering something incredibly unique. I feel like you're leading the charge in terms of where the industry should be going. I feel like you're at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I am a patient. And so I really just started looking at what things do I want from an aesthetic practice? What things do I want from my doctors? And, I hated having to drive to multiple places. And so House of Confidence just kind of encompasses everything from external beauty as well as like your internal wellness. And so I wanted a place that I would want to be a patient. And that's just how we kept evolving, adding services. And here we are today. And I'm sure in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, we definitely will look completely different than we do now.
You're always innovating. You're always working so hard. I remember when we met, I want to say it was roughly 5 years ago. It may have
Yeah,
been
probably
longer.
more, probably like pre-COVID.
It might, yeah. How long have you had the practice now?
So House of Confidence was born in 2022, and it was post-COVID because I remember all of the things I was seeing in clinical practice as a nurse practitioner, working both in the hospital, working in private practice, and then still doing the aesthetic thing as a part-time job. And so I had my hand in all the worlds. And my sister had just graduated pharmacy school, May of 2020. She did her graduation walk on camera. And so I was seeing kind of the merging of like big pharma, hospital, and like how can we be more on the preventative side. And so House of Confidence was born after my pandemic experience. And I worked frontline. So I was seeing how simple changes just from like hormone optimization or like checking your vitamin levels or just meeting with someone that could take a deeper dive, how that could make a big difference.
Well, I remember when you said that you were like, look, I'm going to open up this practice. It's going to be a big deal. I want you to know that. Now, me being the founder of Growth 99, I had heard this story from so many practice owners. We're opening, we're going to be the biggest and baddest and coolest thing. And I heard that a lot, right? We all obviously have that ambition and mindset. You did it, right? You're like, I mean, you guys have an incredible brand reputation. And so first off, like kudos to you for putting in the work, putting in the effort. I think one of the unique things that I obviously see from an external standpoint is how you go about addressing the market, right? You've done a great job on social media. You have incredible advertising. And that's big, right? Like you have to be a great marketer in this industry. It's a cash pay type of industry in order to be seen, right? Can you walk us through that? Because I think the audience needs to understand how you address this from your unique position, how you talk to your audience. And I mean, they come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're first getting started off, because I remember when I was a baby nurse and first started injecting, you are constantly looking at what other people are doing and being like, oh, she's super successful. Let me like make my, before and after posts look just like her. And like, the aesthetic feed on the Instagram needs to like all be like the right color scheme or aesthetically look pleasing. And I was very fortunate that I met someone who was the complete opposite of me, my business partner. And he was just very like blinders, like had never worked in the aesthetic industry, came from a completely different background, but at the end of the day, understood it's just taking care of people. And whatever the product or service is, when you put people before profits, then like the success will come. And I think a lot of us are just impatient. I know that I am at times. You feel like you've been doing it, for years, or you've been, working on an idea in your head. But at the end of the day, it's just about executing. And so I always share, you don't have to go at it alone. I don't think it's bad to have a bunch of mentors that you can look to, but at the end of the day, you can never duplicate the same recipe. So it's going to have your own flavor, it's going to have your own seasoning, and that's what we just focused on. We stopped worrying about what everyone else is doing, and we just started creating. And some big mentors, I think for me, Gary Vaynerchuk. I can actually make a little shout out to Dr. Subio. I was at a conference, the same conference I met you at, Aesthetic Next in Dallas. And Dr. Subio told me, do a deep dive on Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, start looking outside of the industry. He was really big on content and just posting a lot, not worrying about it being perfect, not worrying about it being highly edited, just truly giving your patients, your audience, inside access to the day to day. And whether that includes the struggles, includes sharing your personal life, which I don't tend to do as much. So, maybe in this next year, I will get over that hump of, sharing the cool people I'm meeting at conferences like you. But yeah, just stop worrying about comparison and only comparing to yourself and who you were the day before. And that would be my best piece of advice. Just put it up, make more content. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. More is supersedes better.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think people get caught up in, oh my gosh, I don't like the way I look on camera, or I don't know if I should post that. I don't know what they're going to think about me. It's like, who cares, right? Who cares? Like, be vulnerable, show who you are, be authentic. That you don't have to look like cookie cutter perfect. Just put it out there. Some are going to hit, some are not going to hit. It's just, it's whatever it is. But I think, like, look, there's no way you could have a patient today without marketing. Fair enough.
Yeah, we run a lot of marketing through our social channels. So that's the avenue we chose. I always recommend when practices are starting, pick one lane and get really good at that before, adding lane 2 and 3. And so for some people, it might be Google ads. For us, we decided to go the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and just really focus on that as our one channel of marketing. And I know you and I have had discussions about this. I am not running SEO on my website. I'm not doing a lot of things that I could be doing, but we just kind of picked our lane and we're trying to perfect that lane before we add, lane number 2 and 3, and we're ready. And so I think it's easy to get distracted. As a business owner, you're juggling. You have tons of different competing priorities. So I think just like in the hospital, when you learn to triage, it doesn't mean first one in, last one out. It's what patient is the most important thing that I need to take care of right now? What can't wait? I think Stephen Covey probably does a really great job with his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, making the quadrants. The quadrants didn't really work for me. I've tried it before. But whatever system works for you, you have to figure out that and then stick to it. And prioritizing tasks is the most challenging, I think, skill or muscle to develop as an entrepreneur and business owner.
That cut out for a second, so I'll make sure to edit that. I don't know where you kind of froze there. So it's at 9, but I'll make a note of that. No, I completely agree. I think what you guys have done a really good job of is focus and stay obviously true to who you are. Own that lane, right? Because I think obviously you have to be an incredible marketer. We'll get off the marketing topic here in a second, but instead of being okay at many different avenues, you have become experts on paid social, organic social, and it's proven to give great results. And one of the things that I think you've done such a great job of is your positioning on your advertising. Like, you've trademarked a specific theme, slogan, whatever we want to
Should we
call
tell
it.
everyone what it is?
Yeah, I think the audience would love to hear it. Why not?
So that actually is a great topic to bring up. Business owners, if you are listening, it is super important that you look up the name, the beautiful name and logo that you chose. You need to look up if it's already been trademarked and you need to apply for that trademark. I know there's some providers in the industry talking about this, and I can't stress it enough. You don't want to get 2 years into your business and then realize that you don't own the trademark. And now you have to change your whole branding and company name because you didn't take, the couple hours or the few $1,000s. We did pay a trademark lawyer, so you have to spend money to protect your brand. But yes, House of Confidence. Obviously, we trademarked our name and we made sure that it was able to be used in our industry. The play on words was just to make it more unique. Our liposuction device is German. We wanted to kind of tie that in, and we just like how it aesthetically looked. But then you're right, I took it a step further and then I trademarked a phrase or trademarked our tagline, which became our unique identifier. And we do modern awake liposuction, lipo away. Yes, we trademarked that as well. But our tagline, take it from my gut, put it in my butt, take it from my back, put it in my rack.
And you have I mean, I have heard you actually and seen your ads before, right? And so I know that. Can you go through that with us? I think it's super cool. Like you memorized it, you own it. Do you mind? I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic. The audience would love it.
So I guess it's basically like your elevator pitch. You want to be able to tell someone in 15 to 30 seconds what you do, what you're about, and how they can take the next step, which is a call to action. So for us, it's take it from my gut, put it in my butt, take it from my back, put it in my rack. You wish you could take fat from somewhere and put it somewhere else. Well, now you can. Introducing Lipo Away, Modern Awake Liposuction, no general anesthesia, no IV sedation, no ripping, cutting, pulling, or tearing. In office procedure, come in on a Friday, go back to work Monday. Click the link below to learn more. And so, in a nutshell, we're telling them exactly what the service is about, what are the pros, and then how to take the next step, which is just click the link so we can book you your free consultation. And that's when we can dive into more details. So, whatever your service is, whatever your brand is, I highly recommend trademarking and coming up with your elevator pitch so that when you're organically talking to people, it might be my Starbucks barista and she notices my shirt, or it might be, I'm out at dinner and I came straight from the office and I'm wearing my scrubs. It's going to organically come up. And so the more you have this rehearsed and just really understand how to not lose them by being too lengthy, which is something I tend to do. I overeducate, I over ramble. And so by forcing myself to create an ad that had to be within 30 seconds, it also improved my ability to organically talk about it with people out in public.
Was that Was that something that you learned from listening to Gary Vee, or was that something also that I know that Brian comes from a big promoter background, right? Your business partner, Brian, which really like background in marketing, right? How to connect with people, how to
Yeah.
like quickly tell people like an elevator pitch. Was that a mirroring of the two? Because you've also just like completely just owned this, and it served you really well.
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was a joke. And sometimes the best ideas really just come from organic riffing. And I we decided to split test it, which basically means whatever you think is the best idea in your head, the market will tell you. And so we did a more serious version of the ad, and then we did the catchphrase where I'm a little bit more animated and I'm a little bit more, jumping up and down. I actually remember my parents not, really not liking it and being like, this is not serious. You're a doctor. You should be wearing a white coat. Why are you yelling and jumping and using your hands? And I remember explaining, well, Dad, at the end of the day, people's attention span is like 10 seconds. So if we don't hook them within the first three, they're going to click on the next, they're going to scroll through their feed. I would attribute Gary Vaynerchuk a lot. I've read all of his books. I also started following just other marketers, not from the industry, like Alex Hermosi, Layla Hermosi. They helped build Gym Launch, which they sold for 40 million, and then started their company acquisition.com. I've attended some of their workshops. And so I think it goes back to what I said. build a bunch of variety of mentors and, just try things and see what sticks.
What's interesting is I've heard you said a couple times, which I completely agree with, is looking outside the industry for expertise, right? I feel like we get stuck in this box of I have to get information, I have to get expertise from within inside the industry, and I think that that can stall us within our growth, right? There is so many great marketers, Alex Hermosi, Gary Vaynerchuk. Obviously, they've done an incredible job of marketing, and you've done a really good job of finding mentors outside the industry. Obviously, mentors inside the industry is very, very important, but at the same time, I think it also can stall our overall growth and how we address marketing, how we address business, how we address partnerships, how we address maybe an exit strategy. And so I think that that's for the audience, guys, if you aren't taking the time to maybe join a local group, of entrepreneurs, right? Like there's a ton of entrepreneurial masterminds out there outside of aesthetics. Like I think it would be advantageous for all.
And it's a great place to get clients. So that's a great point. We are part of Entrepreneurs Organization here in Arizona. It's for business owners doing over $1 million a year. We also are part of our local BNI group. We get involved with like grand openings of small fitness studios. So yeah, absolutely get involved in your community because at the end of the day, those are your patients. And I live very close to the office. And so when I'm going to my local coffee shop or I'm going out to eat, everyone is a potential patient. And so I think getting involved in your community is so underrated. And we think that we can only get business through social media. And we forget that there's actually real people in front of us that we can also interact with.
Yeah, I love that. I think as you address the market, right, you come at this, obviously you have an incredible aesthetics background, but you've expanded it beyond beauty. So I want to get into that. I truly feel like you're at the forefront of that. You are comfortable, doing your own thing, leading that pack. When we're watching medical aesthetics practices today, when we watch them move beyond injectables into wellness, hormones, peptides, longevity, why is this happening now? Why is it taking so many others to grasp the concept? I'm a believer that every practice should become anti-aging and anti-aging clinic at some point, or they're going to miss the boat. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. What's your take?
1000% on the side of building a comprehensive practice where people don't have to leave and go get services elsewhere because they will. So if you are talking to them about anti-aging on their face, but we're not talking about gut health, all the treatments in the world won't help them clear up their acne because they're still putting garbage in their body. And so we learned very early on that patients want it, and sometimes it just, you need an intake form because they're too shy to ask about it. I'll give you a great example. I started getting really passionate about functional wellness for female sexual health and wellness. And we invested in both the MSala chair, which does the 30,000 Kegels, and the FemiLift, which is the probe that goes internally to help. Because we realized 80% of our patients were moms and they were embarrassed to talk about it. And if we just had the tool right there and it took 5 minutes, they were 1,000% down to do it. They just didn't know that we even offered it or that it was something that could be done. So I think creating an intake form so that you know everything that your patients are interested in, and even if it's not a technology that you have yet, now you know based on surveying, and this comes from my PhD background, is just, you do your own internal research to figure out what is the next best step for the company. So when we were doing these surveys, well, we realized people were seeking us out because they wanted to remove stubborn fat. But why are they often having that stubborn fat hang around? Their hormones were out of whack. Nobody had sat down really. They were getting GLPs elsewhere, but nobody was really doing a deep dive of like body composition scans. So how much of you're not losing weight, but you actually have been losing weight. You've just been gaining muscle because you've been going to the gym more. So having tools where you can have a more objective conversation where you're using data and data points to show them their progress. Not only did it decrease, need for refund or unhappy clients, we were now having the opportunity to discuss more than just the one thing that they came in for. I grew up in Scottsdale, Cam, so I was very accustomed to plastic surgery. Everybody got their boobs done when they were 18. My mom would have killed me. My mom was a breast cancer survivor, and if I would have had silicone saline put in me,
Mm.
she would have slapped me. I'm Persian, so it doesn't matter how old you are always still your parents' baby. And I started exploring what were more natural options for women who were getting, mastectomies. And that's when natural fat transfer was introduced to me. We are a big natural fat user, so we don't use silicone or saline. We don't do implants. And offering patients a more holistic regenerative option was really what was helping us gain attention, is that people didn't want the fake look. They wanted something that would still enhance, the volume deficit, but that they could still go around and say, I'm natural. I didn't put an implant in. So that's where the deep dive came for including holistic regenerative therapies, is that these women needed their hormones checked, prior to surgery or prior to the treatment plan that we were creating. And so we just were like, we should be just talking about this with everybody. Everybody needs to talk about it.
So you think we're moving from more like anti-aging into age optimization? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the term biohacking a lot too. I'm going to Dave Asprey's conference next month, which has been 14 years running. So what we know is that these communities of people who are trying to biohack or optimize their bodies, they're not new. It's just they've been such a small group that the information wasn't as readily available or shared. And now that we have AI and we have, really good groups throwing conferences, there's no excuse because it's so easy to get the information. I remember when I first wanted to learn hormones, and I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm not a hormone provider. But then, I signed up for an A4M course. I reached out to other people in the Valley who were doing it, and I just started asking for advice. So I think never being afraid to look stupid, and just being hungry for knowledge. I mean, Cam, you know me, I would call myself a conference junkie. I will find any excuse to go to a conference, because I just know that I'm absolutely going to walk away with some new piece of information that I didn't know before going.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's some, look, for the audience guys, I would highly recommend, going to conferences, getting the education there. And I would also encourage you to go with intention, right? I think sometimes people can go with the wrong intention and it can turn into like a party scene. I think that you have done a phenomenal job of going there and advancing your network, of going there, advancing your education. Every time I talk to your CEO, you're like in a deep conversation with somebody about some sort of tech or some sort of marketing strategy, or like how can I increase my EBITDA? You're talking to investment bankers and like you're busy, but you're absorbing all of this education. I mean, you're an academic by trade, right? So it's I have observed that about you, and obviously that gets deeply injected into the culture that you have at your practice. And then you can also take that to Brian, to your business partner. Obviously, he goes to the conferences as well. I think you may go to more. But that's one thing that I will say is I think some people also get maybe conference fatigue, which is normal. But at the same time, there as fast as the science is moving right now, it's very interesting to see what people are doing: peptides, GLP-1s, hormone replacement therapy, how they're injecting this into their practice. And so I think that leads to my next question: is what does a consult look like for you? When someone sees that ad, that amazing ad that you guys have, your slogan, your tagline, like your elevator pitch, and they raise their hand and say, you know what, I'm interested. But maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm kind of interested. That comes into your funnels. It goes into your nurturing campaign. Somebody's on the phone eventually. They come in. What does that consult look like for you to deliver ultimate transformation and a great patient experience?
This is a trick question because it's what is happening currently versus what I want it to look like. And maybe that goes back to that same energy of like constantly wanting to improve. I would like to very much refine the process. And I can thank multiple conferences that I've gone to because I pick up things like, oh, we should be doing that. Oh, we're not really, going through all of the body parts. We're only focusing on like what they circled, but maybe if we just have like an elevator pitch where we're kind of talking about everything, they'll be interested in more. How I would like it to look, I think everyone should have a physical intake form. We did go very digital But what I realized is there's still some like, I don't know, nostalgia to like taking that pen and like circling and seeing a list of all the problems. And you know this intimately. I'm currently working with my website design team. I want to remove sort of like the list of services and have it be more like, what's the goal? So instead of writing Sculptra, which the patient doesn't know what Sculptra is, so why don't we focus on what is the problem that they're trying to address? So, like loss of collagen or like fine lines and wrinkles. And then sort of having this like decision tree where the different names of the products, I go head to head with like laser technicians all the time about this, or laser reps, because I'm like, no, nobody's asking by name for that laser that you're telling me they're going to ask for. What they care about ultimately is just addressing the problem that they have, whether it's stubborn fat, fine lines and wrinkles, acne scarring, low energy. So we have found, and we're making this change actively right now. The consultation process looks like they come in and we first credential the practice. Let's tell them who we are, what we're about, the experience, the years of experience of our providers, and what makes our technology different. So for lipo away, for instance, the key thing I'm going to focus on is right out the gate, reminding them, hey, this is a procedure that doesn't involve general anesthesia. You can go back to work in 2 days. This is what your treatment outcomes, we can reduce the pocket of fat by at least 50%. So I'm going to give them like 3 to 5 just bullet points so that they're not overwhelmed with just a ton of information, but they understand this is what makes us different. Then we dive into, let's just let them talk. 80% of the talking should be from the patient perspective, and a lot of them will get vulnerable. And so I think having that mental, aura or, protection shield so that you can still be compassionate and empathetic without getting like sucked into a 45-minute, sob story about why they're getting divorced. I like to turn it on to, I call it pace, pace, lead, right? Compliment, compliment, and then go for the ask. So we really appreciate you, Cam, for coming in today. I know gas is expensive, and you drove over 45 minutes to get here, and so I think acknowledging that they took time out of their day to come see you. I start with that, and then I go straight into, so tell me a little bit more about you and why now? Because a lot of them have been thinking about this for 2 years. Some of them just saw us 2 days ago. And so I think dialing in how long this problem has been bothering them is something I used to skip over. And now I've really been able to use it as a closing tool, because I'm like, you've been thinking about this for 2 years. What's held you back in the past? Because now there's no objections. I can overcome any objection they throw at me because I'm going in with exactly what's held them back. Was it the price? Was it the downtime? Was it, lack of just feeling a connection with the provider? So if I can find out what held them back in the past from making a decision to move forward and make an investment in themselves, I'm going to be able to address that in today's consult. And I just think sometimes we forget to ask them, how long has this been bothering you?
Hmm. What do you normally find the answer is?
How long this has been bothering you?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like way more deep rooted than we realize. Like we'll have patients, they'll be like 65 and they're like, this has actually bothered me since I was like a teenager. I've always hated my arms. I never wore a tank top because I always felt self-conscious. And so it's also just selling them the end outcome. Well, you know what? We're going to make sure you're super confident this summer wearing tank tops and bringing back that like detail that they shared. So I tell all my staff at the front desk, take notes, get to know them. Like, let's find, we've been notorious for sending our patients flowers when their dog died, or we are in Arizona. We've had a lot of our patients be very worried about family members having to go back to Mexico. And so just really like taking the time to care about their wellness, not just from a transactional standpoint, but like, wow, you're so stressed out because this is going on in your life. We care, we remember. So I think I learned that from actually Chewy. Chewy, the food company, will send subscribers like flowers or something like that. So my team knows that up until a certain dollar amount, they can do whatever they feel is necessary to make the patient feel special. Whether that's a handwritten card, whether that's a gift basket, whether that's flowers. And I think those small touches go a long way because we're in such a digital era. Like nobody handwrites cards anymore. We try to do it like on everyone's birthdays, we handwrite a card. But I think patients even receiving that, like let's say they spent $10,000 with your clinic, and the first time they come in, you have like a thank you note of like, or wishing them well for their wedding or their vacation that's coming up. We just had a patient who did like an around the world cruise. Taking the time to write those notes or having a software system that allows you to keep detailed notes has gone a long way, because now 3, 4, 5 years in, we are part of their family. We had a family yesterday. It was husband, wife, daughter, grandma. Like we were joking, we need to take a picture because like the entire family was there for treatment. And it's just so beautiful when you can capture that and tell the story.
Yeah, I love that. I don't hear that very often. I hear patient experience, transformational outcomes. Obviously, that's the goal, but building a relationship, and going the extra mile. It's kind of like I got into real estate right out of college, right, and loved it. Built a real estate team, did very well, but we would do a ton of that stuff: handwritten notes, phone calls. Like texting wasn't super popular. Maybe that ages me a little bit, but it was a lot of the personal touch. Send the flowers, know the dogs' names, the kids' names, the
Yeah.
anniversary dates. Like we would log this stuff and then take action on it. I love that you said that, having a software system that does a reminder, giving your staff the ability to say, look, up to a certain dollar amount, you don't need management approval, right? And I think that's time is like,
I
well,
wish it was the Ritz Carlton way, though. Do you know the Ritz Carlton? I think they told employees that up to 15,000, they could do whatever it took to take care of the patient or take care of the customer. So our limit is much smaller, but
yeah,
again, I didn't make any of this stuff up. I read books. I listen to podcasts just like this one. I've listened to many of your episodes, Cam. I've picked up some of these from other entrepreneurs that you've interviewed. Unfortunately, I don't have much of a drive time anymore. I walk to the office, so I can talk a little bit about, cultivating your life to be convenient has been super important. But I will listen when I'm working out or on a plane ride. I always try to double an opportunity to multitask or, listen to something passively while I'm doing something else. And that's what's helped me just continue to build it brick by brick. I did learn the gifting or the empowering your staff through the Ritz Carlton training that I did. And I really love their model because it gets people coming back.
yeah, no, it absolutely does. I mean, I have a grocery store local here. It's Publix, right? It's like well known in Florida. It's like I don't know, it's a well known, highest grocery store, whatever. But if you're in the cash register area and there's like a pricing discussion or discount, or they have BOGOs, or you forget to ring something up at self checkout, like they just have a certain percentage that they don't care about. They know you're
Mm.
going to come back. You obviously are going to keep coming back. Don't piss off the customer. Deliver a great experience. And so, like, that was I think that's an interesting thing is they know a certain amount of product is going to go out the door, missing, unaccounted for, or whatever. They don't care. Let it go. It's fine, because that's the last time that customer will see you before they go out to the parking lot. And they've talked deeply on that. So it kind of goes back to your story on the Ritz Carlton. Um, One of the things I've also noticed with you is you have a great relationship with your partner, right? With Brian, right? You guys are yin yang, you guys are dysfunctional, whatever it is. You guys, but you communicate, right? I mean, how many times do you talk to Brian a day? Talk to us
We
about
are
what it takes to have a
texting
good
nonstop
partnership.
all day long. He is, when I started dating, I had to like really explain, to my man, like, this is my business partner. He's the first person I text, he's the last person I text, and all day in between. But having just like communication all day long. We're both working on different things. We're both wearing a lot of hats. Sometimes there's projects we're going to tackle together. And then sometimes there's projects where it's like, okay, I trust you, do what needs to get done to execute and get it done. So releasing control was a big one for me. I think as injectors, we are very type A, and that's good. You want to be paying attention to the details. You're sticking needles in people's faces. You do, 4 units instead of, or that's not even a good example. I don't know, 10 units instead of one. You're gonna have a very different result. So I think what helped a lot, we had a coach that had us do like a personality test or like a really detailed whatever one of those things was. It wasn't Myers-Briggs, it was something else, very much for businesses. And it kind of broke down all of our strengths and weaknesses and helped us identify that while we can both make progress and improve on ourselves personally, we also have to just accept like, this is the way you think and this is the way you think. I'm a very scarcity mindset, or I used to be like, control everything. I need to know about every patient and what's going on, or whatever the example is. I need to make the decision, and that slows you down. And in business, sometimes speed is the most important aspect. And what Brian always used to teach me was like, fail forward. It's okay. We make a decision. Great example, our logo. Our logo looks different today than it did 3 years ago. It's very similar, but the original sketch was something different. And he's like, it's okay, we can change it later. Let's just get it up on the website. Let's get going. And so I think sometimes we try to find someone that's like us, like, oh, I'm best friends with this person because we both love the same things. But I think in business, having someone that is the opposite has served a lot of value, because I'm going to view a problem or situation in a very different way than he is. And then together we can come up with maybe a hybrid of a solution to the problem. Um, I don't know, like choosing your business partner, whether you go at it solo or with a business partner, is totally a personal decision. And I have done both. I personally was able to very early identify through deep work, through, reflection, that I thrive better when I can bounce things off of other people. Actually, it was at Aesthetic Next. Someone did a reading on me. It was a human design. I can give a shout out. I think it was like Michaela and Ashley Curtis. And they were like, you're a reflector. You're 1% of the human population. So the way that you think about the world and how you sample and, you know, take in the world is so different than 99% of people. You are meant to assess the health of a community. So you might walk into a space and be like, ooh, this is working, this is not, but you don't always know the exact answer of how to make it go better. You're almost meant to whisper in the CEO's ear, and then they're going to take it across the finish line. So I think accepting that and like learning that about myself allowed me to pick a business partner that would complement or bring in those aspects that like I wasn't great at. Not overthinking, just creating, going, executing. So, we joke, Brian is the executor. He's the robot. He doesn't matter if he's tired, sick, he just keeps going. And I think people who work out, they're very disciplined and have that same mindset. So, entrepreneurs, if you're not working out, start, because it will make your business grow. Because when you have that mindset of like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to lift some heavy weights, even if I don't feel good, even if I don't want to, the rest of your day will be so much more productive. And I'm saying this, I'm laughing because if Brian hears this, he's going to be like, when's the last time you lifted weights? I did used to work out consistently. I've had a little bit of a lull this last couple months, but I'm very much itching and looking forward to getting back into that routine, because it makes the stressors of being an entrepreneur and a business owner so much easier to handle, because you've already proven to yourself early in the day you're disciplined, you can do it even if you don't want to.
100%. I mean, you have to force yourself. For me, I wake up super early, and that alarm goes off every day. Even on the weekends, I'm like, holy shit. Okay, it's always hard for me to get up. I do it anyway. I go through my morning routine. I go work out. I'm the first one at the gym. It opens at 5:30. And then my brain starts to flip on, and it's like, look, I feel like you've already done the hard work up front early on. The rest of the day, you feel like you could really take on as much as you can. I mean, I normally don't do this, but my day today, I've been on consistent back-to-back one-to-ones, a flooded inbox, took my kids to school. This is my second podcast. I'm late for a meeting right now. I have a meeting after that. And then guess what? I get to coach my girls' soccer game tonight. And I don't even know how to coach soccer. I'm not a soccer. But the coach is out, and he's like, "Would any parent please step up and help to see? Would anybody just volunteer?" And I'm like, I'm the first one to raise my hand. I'll do it. And I'm sure on the way to the freaking practice of the game, I'm just going to be like figuring it out how to do it. But to your point, Sarah, that comes with discipline. It comes with accountability. It comes with taking on hard things in the morning. And I think maybe other parents on that text thread, maybe they're a little more closed off, or they're scared. They're like, I can't do that. And for me, it's just like I know nothing about soccer, but I'm going to figure it out, and we're going to have a fun practice and a fun game. So, and I see, a lot of those traits in you, and that's why you guys built an incredible practice business, and have a very bright future. I know that we've been talking more in the recent days coming up to this interview. Where do you see? I'll let you go here soon. I know you're super busy. Where do you see your business going in the next 12 months, 24 months? What are your thoughts there? Do you even have time to look at that? Because I know how you guys are just super busy right now.
Yeah, I think I learned this from yoga. I did yoga teacher training in 2016 in between nursing school and NP school. And I was mostly just doing it for myself so I could have tools to like use with these complicated patients or these critically ill patients that I was dealing with. Because sometimes we were maxed out. We couldn't give them more pain meds. And so I felt like I had no tools in the toolbox to coach them through something uncomfortable or scary that they were going through. And deep breathing, movement, mindset has been proven time and time again to not only heal illness, but like help you get through, difficult times of entrepreneurship. And I learned the concept of non-attachment. It's one of the core 8 legs of yoga. And they would talk everything about like not even being attached to like the same spot in your yoga class. I'm not attached to an end outcome. I know that at the end of the day, if I keep focused on the mission, which is to make as many people healthy and confident and be involved in that journey, whether it's directly as a patient provider relationship or through coaching, mentoring, other practices, other providers, that at the end of the day, it's a collective. And I think plant medicine, which I've been very interested in, learning more about. I've attended some really cool conferences where they're starting to, merge these things together, has really opened up my mindset that we are all one. We're all the same species and the same race. And if I affect one person directly, I can't even comprehend, or you can't fully even realize how many other lives are going to be impacted because you helped that one person be healthier and happier. So I think we get too focused on like the big number, like how many locations, how much revenue, how many patients have we treated? And I just kind of, it's the same concept, just like brick by brick. Like, okay, I saw 10 patients today, but those 10 patients might tell 10 other patients. And it was like the same concept of like disease spread, right?
Yeah.
It can happen very fast, and not being attached to a timeline has really helped. Again, Brian's probably going to listen to this and be like, what are you talking about, homie? You're so impatient. I'm not impatient. I just am so passionate that I know this industry is evolving so quickly. I mean, if you look at it, like what, 5 years ago, Cam, we had like 2 fillers, and now there's like filler companies. And so I'm really excited that all this evolution is happening, but at the same time being very reverent of like, okay, let's make sure that we have all the facts and that it's clinically safe to do. I've been very hesitant when it comes to peptides because I want to make sure that everything I'm doing in the end is a net positive, and that I'm never going to like look back and be like, oh, just to make a quick buck, we did this experimental treatment. And I know there's been a lot of talk of that in the industry, like injecting growth factors, when right now it's, for topical use only. We were very like cautious, like, hey, there's some controversy. Let's make sure that we understand both sides of the argument. So being able to understand both sides is a really helpful trait as a human. Like, it'll benefit your relationships, it'll benefit your business, it'll benefit, customer service issues. So I always try to look at everything from multiple angles. And so to sell or not to sell, I debate both arguments in my head. And at the end of the day, build a business that could sell And even if you don't sell, then that's the business you're running. Because why wouldn't you want to just buy the business that someone else wants to buy from you? So, or like keep the business that someone else wants to buy. So I have become non-attached to an end outcome. But I do know that if I set really high goals, even if I fall short of them, I'm going to hit higher than if I set a low goal. And I think, I don't know who, Elon Musk probably talks about that. Like, right? You know, if
Yeah,
you think it's going to take 2 years to do something, tell yourself, I'm going to do it in 2 months. And even
yep,
though that sounds insane, okay, so you like did it in 6 months, you still beat
sure,
your 2 years. Um, so I think unrealistic timelines,
yeah.
but like also just not being attached to an idea or an end outcome and just knowing that as long as you keep doing the right thing for the right reasons, I do have a little bit of like trust that the universe is gonna shake it all out the way it's meant to be.
Brick by brick. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I think Elon Musk was like, look, if you give yourself a certain amount of time to make your bed and it's a day or it's like 30 seconds, it's everybody has a certain amount of time and you can obviously get tasks done whenever you give yourself the deadline. And so I love that. Like reaching high for high goals, maybe you fall short of the high goal, but that goal is much larger than if you set a realistic goal, right? Like I think I love creating unrealistic goals and falling short of those versus a simple, easy, realistic goal. So I completely agree.
And that's probably
Uh,
just a personality trait. I think when you're Persian, when you're Iranian, and maybe all the listeners who have Middle Eastern parents or Asian parents, you can relate or understand this. No matter what you do, it's not good enough. So I think being coached, you got an A. Why was it not an A plus? Oh, you got a PhD. Why don't you have 4 PhDs? I hope, I'm sure some listeners can relate to this. You get in that mindset of like, always do more, always do better. And that upbringing has really helped me just kind of be like, okay, we saw
well,
a thousand
there's a lot of
patients.
benefits to that culture. I mean, definitely hard growing up, but at the same time, it obviously helps you become a wonderful producer and achiever. And so, hey, thank you for everything that you do for the industry, for the patients, for treating as many people have you done and giving them such a great result, right? Like you're truly changing lives, making a huge impact. Kudos to you and Brian for building something so extraordinary and special. And, it's great to see and very fun to observe. Hey, guys, if you haven't followed Sara yet, go follow her and her business. It's Sculpting by Sara. That's her Instagram handle. Remind me, what is the practice one?
Yeah, and then the clinic is Haus Med Spa. Haus Med Spa. You can see all of our ads, how we get client testimonials. Guys, DM us. We're always happy to talk with you, give you feedback. I will always respond to my own personal messages at Sculpting by Sara. Might take a few days, might take a few weeks, but I will get back to them. And I'm always here as a resource. And Cam, I got to throw you a little love and shout out. You are helping the industry move forward by bringing together wonderful guests. I run into Cam probably, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times a year, always at a conference. He's always such a great connector. You have connected me with people that have helped me propel to the next stage in my business, whether it's consulting services or, here, try this new software program. I'm always interested in upgrading our stack. And you know this because you've seen the evolution from 5 years ago. So many of these companies are innovating as well, and they want our feedback. And so if there's something that doesn't exist or you're not seeing, ask Cameron because he probably knows where it does exist or who to connect you with. I'm very grateful for everyone you've connected me with because having a big network of all of us trying to do good in the world is only going to help do good in the world.
I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, guys. Thank you so much. My biggest ask is to share the episode, right? If you found it valuable, share it with your colleagues, your friends, your family. Like there's a tremendous amount of people with inside your network that could be benefited from this conversation. Make sure to connect with Sara, and I'll leave it at that. Until next time, happy injecting. Okay, that was great.